Welcome to Today in Prophecy Daily News in 15 minutes or less. It's news with the Bible to light the path that we are on because, quite frankly, we need it. Well, what do we have going today? Well, a top UN official suggests the world look to China for leadership. Got to be kidding me. No, and then there's this. Much of U.S. is at heightened risk for summer power outages, regulator warns, and Trump says the Gulf trip is a good deal for Israel, calls on Iran to make a deal, stop sponsoring terror, halt bloody proxy wars. Well, let's get going with these stories. So let's start here. This is of the expose. Top UN official suggests the world look to China for leadership. The UN's Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator Tom Fletcher has praised China's renewable energy and suggested that the world look to China for leadership for green transition. This noteworthy leadership is not because of democratic values or innovation, but because of China's top-down government-controlled grip on the solar supply chain. Okay, let's work through a few things here regarding this. Number one, looking to China, this top UN official is, he's there because he's the head of humanitarian services for the world. And he's looking to China? Well, it's because of their green policies. Green policies, you've got to be kidding me. Everybody knows China does whatever they want. All this nonsense we have here in America, especially here in the West Coast, in California, can't even have plastic straws. I think they're starting to come back now. People aren't paying any attention to the stupid rules with stupid laws we have out here. But you can't have plastic straws because it's going to kill all the turtles. Well, guess what? China didn't care about that. They don't care about plastic bottles. They don't care about polluting the air. They don't care about anything. You look at this humanitarian and green policies, you've got to be kidding me. You can't get any worse than China. And speaking of, because of how well they do in the solar industry, check this next article out. Rogue communication devices found in Chinese solar power inverters. Well, isn't that a coincidence? Look at that. China supplying solar inverters and solar panels here to America, and they have these rogue communication devices. You mean they're spying on everybody? No, this can't be so. I just can't believe that. You look at this and you go, you've got to be kidding me. So we're looking to China. Of course, this is the head of the UN says to do this. Look to China for leadership. And then you go over here and you go, these are the things that China does. China can't be trusted. Unbelievable. But nevertheless, what else would you expect coming out of the UN? And speaking of solar, the Washington Post reports much of the U.S. is at heightened risk for summer power outages, regulator warns. Okay, so follow this trail. Let's look to China for leadership, especially in green policies, and then China supplies solar things needed for solar energy to Americans. You can't build here in California without solar energy anymore. You got to have solar panels on new homes and just some of this other nonsense. Okay, so you have to have this. Yeah, China's going to supply them. And then guess what we have in the entire United States? This major issue when it comes to power outages are coming all across the country. So you're supposed to install solar to keep that from happening. It's just nuts, just absolutely nuts. And if some of you are upset because you have solar, and I'm saying something about solar, listen, we have solar at our home. We purchased it 12 years ago. And let me tell you, in the state of California, they still shut you down. They still stick it to you. In fact, we don't lease it, we own it, and we still get charged. Now, because we have solar, there's charges that we have from Edison out here, the electric company, charges that we have because we have solar. So it's supposed to save you, well, because we're not making as much money off of you as we thought we were going to. Therefore, we're going to have to give you this fee. Now we've got this fee. Now we have this fee. You know, the whole thing is just ridiculous. And power outages coming to the rest of the country. My guess is maybe they'll be like they do in California. they call it a brownout. They just shut you down. Shut down a neighborhood, shut down a city, whatever it is. We got to save energy. And at the same time, they want us to drive electric cars. They don't want you to have they don't want you to have gas appliances anymore. Got to go electric on everything. And electric doesn't even work. And all of the talk about the needs of electricity and power to power AI. And we've got these problems. All right, let's move on from there. This is really interesting to me. This is out of Israel 365 News. The tide is turning. The Jewish farmers winning the war for Judea and Samaria. Listen to this. The village is under siege. Out of 22,000 dunams, only 2,000 remain for us. We have nowhere to develop, and we're already seeing significant out-migration from the village, all because of the Jewish settlement outposts established in recent years around us, whose purpose is to take control of the lands in the area so that the village becomes a large prison surrounded by settlements. These words were shared glumly this week by Sael Canaan, head of the Burqa Village Council in the Binyamin region, in an interview with an Arab television channel describing firsthand the revolution taking place in the power dynamics between the Jewish side and the Palestinian Authority and its extensive branches. This author goes on and says, I've written many times about Fayyad's plans to establish a Palestinian state. The plan, devised by the then Palestinian Prime Minister, was built around several key strategies, including a fundamental approach, creating a chokehold around Jewish settlements to disconnect them from each other, prevent them from expanding, and effectively turn them into enclaves in hostile Arab territory. In the absence of any counter-response from the Jewish side, which was essentially asleep on its feet and wasn't even aware of the existence of the plan for almost a decade, it progressed rapidly on the ground and began to isolate and strangle the settlements of Judea and Samaria one after another. So this is what's going on here. I saw this firsthand just recently. We were over in the area of Samaria. You may have heard of the organization, the Israel Guys, and we were up there with Tommy Waller and Nate Waller and the Waller family. And as you look at, it's really an amazing thing that's taking place. In fact, we did a whole video on this. We're going to be doing more in the future. But walk through this with me for just a couple of minutes. So this article says, the tide is turning. The Jewish farmers are winning the war for Judea and Samaria. So this is what's happening. Just as said here in the article, the plan in Judea and Samaria, which the world calls West Bank, let's call it by its biblical names. Let's call it by the name God gives it, Judea and Samaria. The plan there by the Arab Palestinians is to, when you have a Jewish city, a Jewish settlement, right? That's what the world wants to call them. They want to call them settlements as if they're colonizers. They are not. So let's call it what it is, a Jewish town, a Jewish village. You have it there, and what they do, what the Arab Palestinian plan was, it was to build all the way around the Jewish village, the Jewish, the Jewish city, the Jewish town. Build all the way around it, enclose it, and essentially you form a prison or prison cell for the Jews that are living inside, and constantly attacking the Jews who live inside of that. That's been the plan, and that is what they have been doing. So we're up there in the area of Samaria, going around with Nate Waller, and he's showing us exactly how it works. We were over there in the area of Shechem, or also known as Nablus, but we're looking at all the different areas, and you can see the settlements. And around, what the Arabs will do is build houses and build buildings that are completely empty. How do they do that? Well, they get money from the United States, from our tax dollars, and they build empty buildings. Where they build the buildings, they're marking their territory, and they're just building all the way around the Jewish areas, the Jewish towns, the Jewish villages. So what Israel has been doing is planting, and where they plant the farms, guess what? Israel establishes their territory. So now the Arabs are, the Palestinians are upset about this and going, hey, the Jews are actually taking back the land that is theirs. God gave Israel that land, Judea and Samaria, and Gaza, by the way. Nevertheless, just with Judea and Samaria, so this is what's happening and what the Tommy Waller family did. They now live in that area, and they went there understanding that the book of Isaiah says that the time will come, pointing to the latter days, the last days, that foreigners will come and they will tend the vineyards. And that's what Tommy Waller has done with his family, and they've gone up there. Then they have the ministry now, the Israel guys, which many of you have seen them, and it's an amazing thing. And they have planted these vineyards all over, and olive groves, and they planted them all over. And as you look at the Bible projecting into the millennial kingdom, we know that Israel's going to be covered with vineyards, and the wine's going to flow from Israel, and all kinds of fruit trees and orchards. And every time you go to Israel, for any of you that have been there, you have seen it. Let me tell you, every time I go, I see more and more and more. It's really a remarkable thing to see the farmland and the greenery that is taking place in the land of Israel, in Judea and Samaria. So this is what the Arab Palestinians are complaining about, much of which is terrorist run, like Shechem, also known as Nablus, and what's going on in Hebron. So much of that is terrorist run. There are terrorists that live there. And Israel saying, no, this is our land. So they're planting these farms. It's remarkable. I'm telling you, God is blessing. It's turning greener and greener and greener. We are not yet in the millennial kingdom, but folks, it is amazing to see this take place, to actually go there, put your feet on it. In fact, we have a second timers tour coming up in October, and that's one of the areas we're going to go to. And you see it firsthand, you go, wow. So that's what this article is talking about here. The Jewish farmers are winning the war for Judea and Samaria. The plan by the Arab Palestinians surround the Jewish towns, and the Jews are saying, wait a minute. Then you have a Tommy Waller family that comes over there and says, hey, I want to be part of this. I've read this in the Bible. Sign me up. And just amazing to see what is taking place. Really, really a cool thing to see what is taking place. That's it in a nutshell with that. But hey, if you want to join us in Israel in October, check it out at the events page. All right, moving on. Trump says the Gulf trip is good for Israel, calls on Iran to make a deal, stop sponsoring terror, halt bloody proxy wars. Okay, let me just walk through this as quickly as I can in the couple of minutes that we have left here. What's really going on with the Gulf trip? Listen, we don't know everything. I will admit I don't know everything. I've been very bothered, as you know, if you've been watching me, by some of the things I see taking place. The plane donated by Qatar. Listen, nothing is free, right? So Trump says this plane is free. Why would we not take it? Listen, remember this: free cheese is available in mouse traps, right? Every mouse knows. Well, every mouse learns that after they get the free cheese. Nothing is free. So he gets this plane. But what is really going on? Listen, one of my friends, military guy, he said, here's what's happening. Trump is lining up a Sunni coalition to isolate Iran, the Shias. And that's what's really going on here. Hence, that's why you have so many military assets, U.S. military assets over there in the Mideast. It is to isolate Israel, to get Israel to comply. Maybe that is it. That's the only thing that makes any sense, but the whole thing still doesn't make sense to me. I have a lot more questions, but I do want to be fair because I've been hard on this all week long. I still have, friends, I have a lot of concerns about what I see taking place. A whole lot of concerns about what I see taking place. But nevertheless, that is it. Maybe it's this strategy. I'm sure we're going to find out in the coming weeks. So we'll keep an eye on it. I do want to be fair. I know Trump has been a friend of Israel in the past, so we'll see how this goes, but I will keep an eye on it. I will keep you updated. And then there's this last article. Only got a few seconds left. Trump optimistic about nuclear deal, but Iranian official calls him a murderer. Listen, everybody knows you can't negotiate with Iran. Trump said it before he was president. The Biden administration kept on doing it. Obama administration did. Now he has Witkoff doing it. Can't negotiate with them. We'll see how this goes. I'm very concerned about what I see going on over there. But in the meantime, we pray for the peace of Jerusalem. God bless.